our Ijara model. I first want to thank Amja for inviting us here, as well as your time, respected sheikhs as well. I know it's very important, this topic. Inshallah, as Amja has discussed earlier, as well as many of the presenters earlier, this is a way for us, inshallah, to communicate, and will be the beginning, inshallah, so that we can come to some sort of constructive resolution together. We all know that this is a big topic. I'm not going to bore you with, the nuances that were already repeated again. So inshallah, we will take questions towards the end. I will take just I will do the process flow, and then we have Sheikh Abu Bakr, who's also who's on audio as well, and we'll go from there, inshallah.
Can you describe how the model works?
I'm going to do that, inshallah. And primarily, I'm going to go through the slides, and mostly we focus on, in University of Islamic Financial, we mainly deal with the Murabaha model, but occasionally we do the Ijara, and so inshallah we'll also describe it, the flow. This is just a brief history of us, University of Islamic Financial. We already spoke about this yesterday. We are a subsidiary of a community bank based in Michigan. We have Muslim investors as well. We are operational in 14 states. We are also been doing Islamic banking for 11 years. We have over $500 million in residential contracts that we have done. We have currently over 10 million in Sharia compliant savings account, 15 million in commercial Ijara contracts, and we are a member of AOFI. The Ijara contracts that we do with our commercial products are generally commercial buildings, as well as non-for-profits and Islamic schools as well. So it's not just a residential end, but we have a commercial end that gives back to the community. So this is a very detailed flow chart of how our process goes through the Ijara model. So it's not very simple in terms of the whole flow of it. We've already given this to Amja as the flow of it, but I will, inshallah, on the next slide, go through what is the step-by-step approach that we all know and understand. At first, in the Ijara model, as a wakil for the trust, the customer identifies the property. So we give the customer a pre-qualification letter, and on it it says that they are qualified for this amount to look for a home, and also they act as a wakil on our behalf to find the home and negotiate it. Once they find the home, then we at University of Islamic Financial establish a trust to go ahead and purchase the property. So the trust buys the home from the seller. So then the trust that we have created has become the owner of this property once it purchases it from the seller. So it goes directly from the seller over to the trust. Let's say the trust is 123 Main Street Trust. Okay. After the trust takes the title to the property, the trust and the customer execute the lease and the promise to purchase. So after we go ahead and take the ownership of the property, then between us and the customer, we execute a contract, and that contract has the lease purchase, the lease contract, and then also the promise to purchase. So there's a way for the customer to rent the home, and then at the end afterwards exits and purchases the property. When the customer then, after finishing putting money towards purchasing the property, then we go ahead and transfer title to the purchaser, and they become 100% owner of the property at that time. So let me, inshallah, explain this to you in more of a common terms. So let's say the person wants to purchase this home. University Islamic Financial goes ahead and purchases this property through a trust. The trust then leases the property back to, so let's say the property is $100,000, okay? And we're going to sell it back to this person for $100,000. But they don't have this $100,000 right now. So we will lease it to them, so they'll pay us rent while they use the property. And part of their payment also goes towards buying us out for that same $100,000, okay? So in their payment, Part of it is going towards the rent. Part of it goes towards eventually buying the house from us for $100,000, the same price. It's sort of like a layaway in a sense. Part of that money gets put on the side. It's called an on account until they have accumulated $100,000. And once they have done so, then we go ahead and we transfer over the trust into their name. So this is how the flow of the program works from a consumer perspective. Okay. So then we have some commonly asked questions that people ask. This is a very common question. Where do you get your money from? Okay. In this program, it is what is called a portfolio program, meaning that there are no outside investors. So the money that we receive from our Sharia compliant savings account from Muslims like you and I put money into a savings account, and then we use these funds in order to purchase or to fund these transactions. So this is the initial source and the end source of the financing for the Ijara model. There is no outside investors, there is no Freddie Mac or anything like that. Who pays for the property taxes? The trust pays the property taxes. So we, the owner, pay the property tax, but we also factor it in as part of the payment. So the taxes and the insurance are all factored into the payment, one payment, but it also, we break it down to you, what is our total payment and how did we get to that amount. So the property taxes and the insurance are collected as part of the rent payment. And then it says, what happens in case of non-payment? Okay, so remember, in this case, it's a lease to own. Your payment is due by the 1st of the month, but you have a 15-day grace period. So, but in reality, when you make your payment, you're actually paying for the 1 month behind. So our program, it's not like if you are renting right now that you pay for the current month in advance before you use it. With us, right now, if you made your February payment actually goes for January. So you pay 1 month in arrears, okay? So your payment is due by the 1st of the month. After the 15th of the month, then you have a fixed $50 late payment fee. After that, what happens? Let's say, la samahallah, you have a hardship. There's some problem. We'll work with you depending on what your hardship is. You lost your job, you're sick, something of that sort. Sometimes we've stopped the payment, sometimes we've lowered the payment, and sometimes we've done nothing, depending on your specific situation, depending if we see that there's a way out. Now, if we keep going worst case scenario, what else is going to happen? Let's say we've tried to go ahead and work this out and nothing can be done, then eventually we will have to go ahead and sell the home in a foreclosure, okay? And that's generally a few, 2-3 years is what our experience has been. So you've been living in this home for 2-3 years with non-payment as well. And in that same time, we're also still paying the property taxes and insurance. So we're not just out, the money for the rent of the home, but we're also continually putting money into the home to make sure that it has no other issues with the state and local authorities with regards to taxes and other liens and such. So let's say we go ahead and we sell the home, and when we sell the home and the home goes for a loss, we will take 100% of the loss. Okay, so because in this case we own the property, then we go ahead and we take a loss on anything that's deficient on it. So let's say the house is $100,000, it sells for $80,000, then we'll go ahead and we take that $20,000 loss in the property from the net sale amount. And the reason why I say the net sale amount as well, because we've taken other losses as well, which is continuously paying those taxes and other maintenance on the property as well. So generally the losses is a lot larger than just what is left of the balance and what is it is eventually sold for. So this is basically the steps and the commonly asked questions with regards to our Ijara model. And inshallah I will take it over to Sheikh Abu Bakr so he could comment as well regarding the Ijara program.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. أولا نشكر الأخ الذي قدم برنامجنا في UIFC، كما أننا نشكر الآباء والعلماء الكرام الذين بذلوا جهودهم وصبروا علينا ونادونا لمناقشة برنامجنا نحو بحث أفضل أسلوب. We are actually very grateful for Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have in UIFC certain principles that we work with. أحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. Ijara is similar to murabaha. It's just the sale of benefits. So the principle number one we work with, or we try to approve certain products, is that we ensure that riba is forbidden and bay' is halal. Number two, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Within the limited knowledge and a limited opportunity within the regulatory environment, we try to satisfy the regulation, satisfy our customers, satisfy our ulama as much as we can. إِذَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ فَأْتُوا مِنْهُ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. The principle number three, العبرة في العقود بالمقاصد والمعاني لا بالألفاظ والمباني. Some individuals can read a contract and probably read this contract in the implied meaning, not in the literal meaning. So the reading, if it is prejudged based on implied meaning, you could as well completely get it wrong. Now the explanation we've done, we ensure that we try to work with that limit. Principle number four, لا تجتمع أمتي على الضلالة. We try to align the practices of UIFC as much as possible within the fatwa that we have and within the IOP standards. And that's why any sentence or any of this product, before it can be launched, we have to subject it to IOP standard in every aspect of the product. حتى نتمكن من تحقيق المصلحة وتكثيرها أو ودفع المفسدة وتقليلها. لأن الأصل في المعاملات الإباحة، وإن الشريعة الإسلامية تسعى في كل آية أو في كل مقام لتحقيق المصلحة وتكثيرها وتقليل المفسدة ودفع المفسدة وتقليلها. So, based on these issues, number one, we are very grateful to Amja to call our company into this conference, because I believe what they are there for is to ensure that the consumers out there get the right product, and those who are practitioners in the Islamic banking do the right thing. No individual, no single individual is perfect. Neither a single scholar is always right at every time. كلامي صحيح ويحتمل الخطأ وكلامك خطأ ويحتمل الصحة. I mean, just in the meaning. So based on these issues, once we see the observations and reviews of these our eminent scholars, the first thing is that we're grateful that it actually shows us the level of their understanding or the level of our own practice. So we'll find a common ground to ensure that the practices, they go in tune with Sharia. But I was really happy with one of the scholars in the conference. I read one of his statements which says that our scholars, it is one thing to criticize and condemn, it's another thing to bring out a clean, perfect, workable, feasible, regulatory compliant and Sharia compliant product that the banking industry or the Islamic finance industry will work on. So many years, there is up till this moment, there is no new product that has been launched. We assume that we the scholars that have the erudite knowledge, who have the Sharia knowledge, the usul al-fiqh wal-fiqh, should be able to devise new products that will help move the industry forward. So if we are criticizing, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a policy. إذا أحل الله عز وجل إذا حرم الله عز وجل شيئا أباح ضده وهو أفضل من المحرم. If Allah forbids something, He brings out a superior quality. That's why أحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. Now, against all this background, we always want that if a practice is moving fine, then there should be an encouragement. The areas that they are getting well, and then the areas that they are not getting well, there should be a proper channel, which is exactly what this Amja is doing now, bringing all the business community and the ulama together. to come out and find a common goal so that the customer out there, the consumer out there, gets a better deal. We always few, and that is why in UIFC, what we do when we have questions or we have comments or we have objections, we try to sit down and place these objections before Quran, Sunnah, Ijma, and any other fatwa that is available within our contemporary world today. I commend the Amja community for their patience and for their keenness to ensure that the business goes according to Sharia. So that's exactly what we actually responded to some of the questions. Now, when you say lender or buyer or seller, we don't want skepticism. We want objectivity and neutrality. You pass in a judgment, ensure that you read the sentence according to the letter and spirit, and not to read it according to imply. That's why I mentioned the legal maxim yesterday. Al-aslu fil kalam al-haqiqa. إلا إذا وجدت قريبة تصرفه عن معناه الأصلي. So that's why once I see a lender and I look at the document with nothing like lender, it wonders how we are able to imply. We should try to look at the practice as it has been explained and look at the document. Yes, we have rooms for improvement. Nobody is perfect, and we don't even claim perfection. But we want to ensure that we try to strive better and better and better. I ask Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward all our scholars and to give them نسأل الله عز وجل أن يجزي العلماء ويجزي الإخوان والآباء الذين كرسوا جهودهم وجلسوا وصبروا علينا أن يجزيهم خير ما جزى المحسن. ونسأل الله عز وجل أن يعيد علينا بالأمن والسلامة ويعيننا على تصحيح أخطائنا وكذلك على تقدم الصناعة بإذن الله تعالى. With these few comments, I wish to congratulate all of us, and I'm grateful for Almighty Allah for giving me this opportunity to speak on behalf of UIFC. And we want to assure the members that what we do in UIFC, we try our best possible to ensure that, number one, it flows with the principle I just mentioned here. Number one, أحل الله البيع وحرم الربا. Number two, that we work within the framework of the IOP standard, which every individual on earth today knows that IOP standard is not there for joke, even though it is not obligatory for people to apply it. So with this, I thank all of you, and I ask Almighty Allah to make this our discussion a fruitful one, and to allow us to have a sadr, to accept other people's position, and to allow arguments and to allow wisdom to prevail. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Abu Bakr. Sheikh Abu Bakr, just to give you a very brief bio, he has studied and has his degree in Sharia from Saudi Arabia, as well as he is on many Islamic finance companies' boards as well. So he has a great deal of experience on all different financial models, whether it be the Ijara, Murabaha, or Musharaka model. Jazakallah khair. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I believe Dr. Hatem is. Sure, inshallah I can get it back up. Sure. You don't have correct or?
Who's speaking next?
Just the same of you.
I'm speaking on behalf of Ijaz. No. Yes. Technical, yes.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ثم أما بعد. To proceed, يعني, in the beginning, I would just like to emphasize that we really need to have we wanted to have like a better picture of how those contracts work. So if we can concentrate on the technical matters, that would be excellent. The audience wants of the company representatives to please concentrate on the technical matters. There are some technical issues with each one of these contracts that are somewhat vague to us, and clarification of those issues would really help us a great deal in understanding what those contracts are about and their legitimacy or otherwise. So الإجارة المنتهية بالتمليك, or lease ending in ownership, as a model, this may not be the greatest model, to be honest with you, because I could see some benefits in بيع المرابحة because of its ease. The fact that the bank gets rid of the property very quickly so that the bank is not liable for the property, which the bank wants to not be liable for the property, because banks in general and financing companies in general do not want to own and be liable for property. So بيع المرابحة would allow for this flexibility and will give the bank this edge that they'll just sell the property quickly and be entitled to the price, which will become a debt in this case, and that will be it. المشاركة is good for the resale, because المرابحة would not allow a Muslim company, a Muslim-owned company, to resell the contract because they can't resell debts. So I see some point here in المشاركة. الإجارة المنتهية بالتمليك would not serve the purpose of the banks very well, because they will continue to own the property and be responsible for the property. Keep in mind that the Sharia here, sometimes I feel, honestly speaking, and let's just be frank with each other, sometimes I feel like this is like close to the GMO business. The Sharia is based on tenets and principles that express the spirit of the Sharia, the whole structure, the whole legal structure. It is like part and parcel of the overall spirit of the Sharia. So when we try to experiment with Sharia and we try to like push it a little bit beyond the bounds of the Sharia or the limits of Sharia, and I am not saying that any of these companies is doing this. This is not an accusation. It's just we're talking about Islamic financing in general. We're talking about Islamic financing, not particularly in America, but we're talking about Islamic financing in general. You feel sometimes like this is like close to the GMO business, where you're playing with something that you don't know where it will lead you, that you're not really very cognizant and aware of the overarching wisdom behind those teachings. So when you play with the technicalities without a complete recognition of the overarching wisdom and the basis and principles of those technicalities, then you just get into trouble, and then the Sharia loses credibility in people's perception. So that is extremely important for us to pay attention to. We're trying to get somewhere where we say to the people that we're not fallen into the clear-cut riba. So it is basic, but we have to say that the Sharia is there, and we're trying to get there, and we're doing our earnest effort to get there, but it is important to tell the people that we have a lot of challenges and that we have not reached close to perfection. The particular issues with this contract, the contract of the lease ending in ownership, that will need a little bit of clarification, particularly as far as practice goes. I said that this contract in itself, this model in itself, and you have a different model. You have a Murabaha model, which is one of the two models I said that may have some benefits over this one. This particular model may be helpful in resale, in refinancing. Because you can't do refinancing through the two Murabaha models, basically because then the end buyer will be the original seller in this case, and you will fall into the problem of Aina. But you could do refinance through al-Ijara al-Muntahya bil-Tamlik or lease ending in ownership. One of the issues is that in Bay' al-Murabaha, you could get out of the trouble of hidden defects through Bay' al-Bara'a, which is known in Islamic fiqh, although it was controversial between the scholars. But we're taking all the comfortable positions. So we'll say that Bay' al-Bara'a is acceptable, and in this case, through Bay' al-Bara'a, which is non-liability of the seller, through the seller would say, this is the product, take it, I'm not responsible for any defect, hidden or obvious, I'm just not responsible for defects. This is Bay' al-Bara'a, it is acceptable according to some scholars. We will consider it to be acceptable. You could do this in Bay' al-Murabaha. You cannot do this in Ijara. The problem with Ijara, brother, is because if we want these names to be real, if we want to really be real, these names have to be real. The word musharaka is a word that has implications in Islam. In Islamic fiqh. The word ijara has implications in Islamic fiqh. You cannot strip any of those words of their meanings and then just use them. Use the word, but strip the word of the meanings and the implications of this word. So الإجارة عقد على منفعة بعوض معلوم إلى أجل معلوم. It is the contract, the subject matter of the contract is the benefit, the usage, your ability to use this product. So if there is any defect that will obstruct that will prevent me from the usage of this product, the adequate usage of this product, what are you selling to me? What are you giving me? What are you giving in exchange for the money that I am paying you? Nothing, because what I am getting from you, the two elements of the contract that we are exchanging here is money for usage of this property or utilization or some benefit. So in this case, any hidden defect from before should be the responsibility of the mu'ajjir, and he cannot say, I am not responsible for hidden defects from before. Also any damage that did not result from the negligence or the transgression of the lessee should be the responsibility of the lessor. So that is the first thing. So we want to see if, to get the answers to these two questions, hidden defects and damage that will happen that is not because of the negligence or transgression of the lessee. The other issue, according to, and like I said, we're starting from IOFI standards and the standards of the fiqh assemblies or the resolutions of the fiqh assemblies. I talked about the hidden defect from before, and I talked about the damage that will happen thereafter. So this includes the non-operational maintenance. Non-operational maintenance, which is a siyana al-asasiyya, will be the responsibility for the lessor. Now, the other issue is the liability. The other issue is the liability and whether the lessor is liable or not, who's paying for the insurance, and you can tie this into the last point as well. Who is responsible to pay for the insurance? The other issue is the case of default, or the case where the person wants to withdraw out of this contract. And in ijara, if the price of the ijara, if the lease, the terms of the lease were adjusted because of the expected transfer of ownership at the end of the contract, and then we end this contract earlier. Like the ijara of this house is $1,500, for instance, but we're taking $2,000 because at the end of the term, the ownership will be transferred. So if the ijara ended after 10 years, not after the expected 15 or 20 or 30 years, then according to the IOFI standards, we have to go back to Ujrat al-Mithl. We have to, go back to the $1,500 and not the $2,000 that were charged because of the expectation of transfer of ownership at the end of the lease. And they said here, where is that point? Okay, I don't see it right in front of me here, but it is in the IOFI standards anyway, that you have to go back to Ujrat al-Mithl in case the ijara was increased because of that expectation from the customary lease or the customary rent. So if this unit is customarily rented out for $1,500, but because of the expectation of transfer of ownership, you're renting it out for $2,000, then you will have to give back the $500 if the contract had to end in the middle. The last thing is that the mu'ajjir or the lessor may not charge fees for late payment, and if he charged fees for late payment, those have to go to charity. If he charged like a fine for late payment, the fine will have to go to charity. So to summarize, hidden defects, non-operational maintenance, hidden defects, who's responsible, non-operational maintenance, who's responsible, where there'll be return of the difference between the customary rent and the named or designated rent in case of default, and also late payment, and that's it. So if we get like some answers to these particular questions.
Absolutely. Inshallah, we will respond to them and have them sent over to you too. I think that's fine, yeah.
No, but my questions.
Are you going to respond to his questions first?
Well, so some of the Sheikh's questions are more on a Sharia aspect that I will not try to answer completely because I'm not a qualified Sheikh on that. But to give you our positions on those, and I will go back a little bit, maybe not in the same order that the Sheikh had asked those questions, if you don't mind, Sheikh, but inshallah to answer those.
No, whatever, we don't want to put you on the spot, and we understand understand that you're not going to answer from a Sharia perspective. I'm just
Sure.
asking about the technicalities. What happens in this case? What happens in that case?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, first of all, we take this Ijara model and it's set up similar to a car lease. So, with regards to that, I know the Sheikh had some concerns regarding the repairs and things of that sort. And similarly, if you rented a car, if you damaged a car, you're going to fix it, not the one who's leasing it over to you. Because when you were given that, when you had it, it was inspected and you took it as is. You took it that this is the condition it is, and then if you decide to use it or abuse it, or use it and abuse it, then then you would be responsible for it from that perspective, as well as your intention is ultimately to purchase the property and become 100% owner of it. So this is the.
This is my intention. I am not still the owner.
Yeah. So that is our this is our thoughts behind the usage of it and the repairs. With regards to the late payment, the late payment fee is, we have a standard late payment of $50 regardless of the home price or the value of the home or what your rent is paying, and that is to recuperate the cost of us rebilling you, the administrative cost. It's not a profit endeavor or such from that. So yes, the main point behind that is to deter people from paying late, not to penalize them from that. There are times if you call and you have a hardship, okay, you are sick or something happened, we will waive that late payment for you. It's not something that we're happy to do in terms of have that late payment fee. So we do waive these late payment fees, if there's a circumstance from that, but not if you were on a trip to Hawaii surfing and you forgot to make your payments. So that's with regards to the late payment.
It goes to the company or to charity?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't want to tell you. I know the reason why they came up.
I don't know is a beautiful answer, wallahi.
Alhamdulillah.
It's a very honest answer and credible, beautiful.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
But the reason why we came up with $50 is the reason why we came up with that amount also is not just a number we felt was a nice number. No, the reason why we came up with it is there was a study that was done. We hired a third party to come up with a study to find out how much this cost would be. And then they told us that it would be $50. Roughly, factoring everything would be $50. So that's why we have chosen that as well. So it's definitely not from a profit perspective, but I will definitely follow up, Sheikh, with regards to where does it go? Does it go to the company to pay that expense, or do they give it to charity from that? And then your other question, Sheikh, was
The hidden defects, like let's say the
yes, the hidden defects. So
yeah, you purchased the house and then it turns out that there is a huge problem in the foundation.
mm-hmm. So generally, before we purchase the home, there's an inspection that's done on the home, and then we find out the condition of the home. Okay, if there are any issues. If there are any issues with the home, then from there, we don't go ahead and purchase it. So we make sure that the house is in livable condition. So if the house, let's say, is missing a whole kitchen, and the plumbing is issue and roof, and you're saying, hey, I want to buy this house, and I'm going to fix it, and I want to do this, we'll say, sorry, we're not able to do it. The house that we are able to purchase, it has to be in livable condition from the beginning. We do an inspection. If there's something major with the home that from the initial, then we do have recourse against those that the license inspectors and things of that sort. Okay, but from the common things, we treat it as you inspected the property and it was in good working condition from that, and then how you dealt with it, that would be your responsibility. And then the last question, Sheikh? I think that was... Sure. Well, so I don't have the contract with me, the Ijara contract with me printed, okay? But there are cases in which the amount of money that is put on the what's called on account towards the house, and that's what the Sheikh was talking about with regards to the difference in the payment. So if you have a $2,000 payment, part of that factoring in that you're going to purchase the property, the Sheikh is saying if it is canceled for some reason, then it should default to what just the rent portion would be, which is, let's say, $1,500. Correct. So that $500 accumulated over time, what would happen to that amount? There are certain circumstances, unfortunately I don't have it printed, but that does get returned to the lessee, the one who's renting it. That amount would be returned back to them, and it's in the contract. It says this happens, it'll be returned. If early termination, this will be. So that is in the contract, Sheikh, as well. So yes, so that has been taken into consideration. Okay, Jazakallah khair.
What investment property? Do you count for investment to buy investment property?
We do investment properties as well. Yes.
You buy it and if you rent it, the buyer can rent it.
Correct.
You can do that.
You can. Correct. No.
Do you have one card?
Is this? Yes, inshallah. No question? Yes.
No. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam.
Just have a technical question, and this is not to push you on the spot or to hold you liable to anything. So whatever we discuss here is for us to have a better understanding,
Absolutely.
and whatever is discussed here will stay here, inshallah.
Absolutely.
Jazakallah khair. I have many technical questions, but I'll just ask you one specific one. When do you refer to, does the renter or whatever you call the person, when they make a payment, right, does that payment consist of a rent plus a payment that goes towards the purchase of the house in the future, and are they put in different accounts? Like, do you, where if the person defaults, right, the money that was supposed to go towards the purchase of the house is kept separately, and you give it back to him, or you use it somehow?
Sure.
Okay.
So yes, your payment has portion of it that's going towards the rent and portion that's going towards purchasing the house. And depending on this, I have to look at the exact clauses or reasons why for early termination, right? There can be many reasons for early termination, such as default, such as you're putting the full money towards the home, such as, la samahalla, fire or flood, earthquake, stuff like that. So there's many reasons depending on it, and so depending on that reason, there is money that is returned back to you. I have to look at the exact contract with regards to which scenarios it goes back. But it is stated clearly, because I was reading on the contract yesterday as well, because we don't do many Ijara contracts. So this is why I'm a little bit going with, don't have all the answers with you, but there is money that goes back to the lessee, the one who's renting from that, will go back depending on early termination. Yes. Yes.
So another point of clarification on the contract.
I'm sorry. One second. Yes.
Another point of clarification on the contract. So you're saying that the taxes, they're calculated and then they're factored into the monthly payments, correct?
Correct.
So on paper, is it UIF, they're responsible for paying the taxes on the houses?
Yes.
Okay. The second question that I have is that not adding unnecessary value? And this may be more of something towards the sheikh or the Sharia counsel for the company. Is that not adding unnecessary value to the house? So when you're taking the taxes, right, that's something that you as the owner are responsible for, but essentially in the end what's happening is it's being shifted towards...
Should be okay, because eventually they could agree on the rent.
Okay.
It's a matter of agreement. So if the rent is $1,800 and he says, I will rent out to you for 19 or something, it's fine.
It's fine?
Yeah.
Can I help you answer Sheikh Mohammed's question on the...
Sure.
Sheikh Mohammed, so on your question about, if the two things are separate, in most situations, just to clarify, I work for guidance, not for UIF. Wissam is a good friend. I used to work for UIF. But to answer the question, in most situations, if there's value left in the house, the last thing any institution wants to do is foreclose on the person. So if there's value left, and let's say someone paid into their rental or buyback amount $50,000, and the house is worth $100,000 and they can't keep it, the first thing any institution would like to do is for them to sell it themselves. Because once it goes into foreclosure, then everyone wants to pay less for the home that's worth the same amount. So if the people sell it themselves, they will get their money back majority of the time. The only time that will not happen is if the value is not there completely. And at that point, then there's many circumstances that you have to look at. But in most cases, because historically home values in America have gone up, we went through a patch of time where they haven't, but in majority of the time, the homeowners themselves will sell. They'll get all the money they've put back in, plus more usually. And that's usually the way it happens. So that's on a practical level. On a default level, then other rules apply, and that's where you have to look into the technicalities of the contract. But my question was actually for Sheikh Hatem. Sheikh Hatem, so now Guidance and UIF have both mentioned that they don't give their late payment fee to charity. They have, I know in the case of Guidance, they actually had to hire a third-party company to go in and see how much it cost to process the late payment fee, and that's where they came up with the $50. And a few times you've mentioned that, a few of the ulama have mentioned that this has to go to charity, and we see that this does not happen in the two companies. Is there some rukhsa for that you know of where you can keep it for just administrative costs?
And the idea here is that we're being so flexible with Islamic financing in America that we would take anything that any credible scholar said anywhere. So there is room for administrative fees according to some scholars. So we will not hold you accountable for anything except whatever is agreed upon. So if there is any credible scholarship, a position where there is some credible scholarship behind it, then we'll just go with that. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
So my question is also for Sheikh Hatem. Yesterday, Sheikh Salah, spoke about what I understood to be that matters that the Sharia is silent about, we return to the urf, or the custom of the people. I actually wanted to ask you if you're familiar of any lease-to-own programs where I guess the leaseor is responsible for maintenance and the foundation of the product or the asset.
The idea here is I'm not quite sure if I know of any. That's why we wanted to listen to hear from you whether you do this or not, because these are all the companies that I know of that do Islamic financing. If you're talking about overseas, if that is something that they do overseas, yes, in some companies they do this overseas. There are a couple of companies that actually do follow the IOFI standards, and I don't really recall on top of my head now the names of those companies, but I know that there are a few companies that follow the IOFI standards in the Middle East verbatim.
Sure. And my question really is with regards to lease to own in the United States, how it's interpreted, in this environment. So I just, at a personal level, was just not aware of any lease to own programs, regardless of the asset, whether it's a car or a fridge or whatever it is, where the leaser is responsible for, for these kind of costs. So that's why.
Okay, so the urf that we go back to is a urf that is not in conflict with the shara, but the urf that is in conflict with the shara is tossed out, completely, is not even considered. We're talking about a case where the shara is silent, and then we go back to the urf that is not in conflict with the shara. But in the shara, the word lessee, lessor, partner, this, that, these words have specific definitions, specific implications, specific fiqhi consequences. Therefore, we refer to those, and we don't say that we will refer to the urf. So the lease contracts here in America, whether you will be responsible for the non-operational cost, which is the non-operational maintenance or not, is really trivial in this discussion, because in the shara, the lessor is responsible for the siyana al-asasiyya, non-operational maintenance, and the lessee is responsible for the operational maintenance. So why do we need to actually refer to the urf when we have the answer in the shara? If the shara was silent, then we would have referred to the urf, but the shara is not silent. That is the issue. All of these terms, the shara has definitions, implications, and is not really silent on them.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
So I apologize if this question comes off as being overly critical, but it's something that I think is I need to ask. Okay, so I just my preface. No, it's not overly critical. I apologize if it comes off as being that way, but I don't feel it's overly critical. So here it comes. Okay, this question.
Protect me, Sheikh.
Sorry. So, this question is actually for all the banks here, but since you happen to be standing here, it's gonna go to you.
I'm gonna be the piñata.
Yes, I apologize for that. All right. So the question is, I give benefit of the doubt to of all the banks and to Amja and everyone that when you tell me that you're trying to serve the Muslim community and everything, I take your statement at face value, right? But the thing is, I came to this conference, and I think many other people came to this conference, knowing that Amja is going to do some, alhamdulillah, awesome research, and they're going to give us this packet like they do every single year, and they said that they're going to analyze every single financial contract. And my question really is did anyone from the banks actually go and read these research articles in detail, and did they have any intention to answer the detailed objections that Amja actually specifically said? Because I'm not seeing that in the presentation, and when you don't make an effort to do that, either have a Sharia scholar do it, or even if you got this packet late and that's your excuse, I'm staying up after Fajr, I'm staying up after Isha, and I'm reading this. Someone could have read this and tried to respond to these, and at least look at the suggestions to make this contract Sharia compliant by Amja and say, either we're going to consider doing it, or we're not going to do it because of this and this reason. So my question is, did anyone actually read it? And why was there no intention, or was there an intention to actually answer these detailed things? Because that's what I really came to hear. So I apologize for that.
Sure. Well, that was an easy question. So Jazakallah khair.
Great.
That was easy.
Alhamdulillah.
I'll take off my shield now. So the answer is, and wallahi, I appreciate Amja inviting us, and I seriously mean that. The scholars on the board and that are here from Amja, I really personally respect, and I'm not just saying that because I'm in front of a crowd and I'm just here, but I listen to Dr. Hatem. I go to his khutbahs in Jersey, Al Minhal, and Sheikh Salah I watch on YouTube. So these are scholars I watch and listen myself personally. So what they say is important to me, and also as well as we've been trying for some time to get some resolution with Amja, and when we were contacted with regards to our contracts, we quickly gave it to them again. Okay, we were told of a conference, and we didn't know what to expect of the conference. To be honest with you, we weren't told what was the format of the conference, how it was going to be. We were told, I think, a week before, saying you have 20 minutes to speak, but we weren't told what we were speaking about. What was the forum? Are we going to have, like the Sheikh is sitting now and critiquing back and forth, which is good, but we didn't know what to expect. And then Friday, so we came, honestly, with a completely different slide. We probably changed our mindset on what we were presenting 6-7 times in the past 2 days, depending on what was being presented here. So because of that, we got this on Friday, and we were actually kind of shocked because we didn't have any time to answer these, and nor were we told of these in advance that we could have prepared or had the Sharia board prepare for these in advance. So yes, I looked at it right away, I read it right away, but this is not something also that overnight you can make a quick change, even if we wanted to. So what we are going to do is we're going to take this book, okay, and look at our UIF section, and we're going to send it back to our Sharia scholars and say, hey, these are the issues, okay, that they are having. One, is this something that you feel is a valid reason? If you think that you are right, please provide them with your reasons why you think that these aren't incorrect. I mean, these are incorrect, and we should stick to them. Or these are wrong, and the Amja group is correct. We need to change them, and how can we change them, and are we able to change them? So we've always, alhamdulillah, at UIF, and I've been here for about 7 years at UIF. I can honestly say that we really try to do it on a Sharia compliant way. For example, our Ijara contract does not work in the state of Maryland. It just doesn't work. In order for it to work, we would have to change certain things that would not make it Sharia compliant from our Sharia board standards. So we just don't do it. Are we losing business from it? Absolutely. But are we going to compromise what we think is Sharia compliant? No. So we really take Amja's time, Dr. Matin, Dr. Hatem, and Sheikh Salah Hassawi, and everyone else on Amja's team. We really love that they've looked at it. We respect their time, and we really appreciate it, because everyone has some good insight, and we have to take this back, and we are going to take it back, and we're going to say, let's see if we can make these changes, and how do we go about doing so. So it's not here that we're just going to say, okay, we're here, this is what it is, take it or leave it. No. We come here with a clean heart that we want to make things right, and we want to go ahead and try to make any changes that we can and go from there. And as I was telling Sheikh Hatem yesterday, that we'd like to have a dialogue going forward, some dates and times, so we could meet. Because I can't sit with Sheikh Hatem. I'm nowhere near his level. This is maybe the closest I'll get to sitting on a table with him, So the thing is that, we need someone from our side that's qualified to sit and go back and forth in a constructive way. It's not criticizing, but in a constructive way to see how we can work these things out. Jazakallah khair. Allahu Akbar.
Testify on their behalf. Actually, we did talk about ongoing relationship and some ongoing relationship from here on to better these contracts and improve them and so on. The second thing is he's right about everything he said in terms of not having the complete picture of what this is going to be like. It is also important that we realize that we have not gone through the process like they did. Amja may not have the complete awareness, the members of Amja, the Fatwa committee may not have the complete awareness of the challenges that they have encountered, whether they are legal, practical, logistical, this, that. So we are actually here to also benefit from their input and their feedback. And Amja also, or at least personally, I did not go through all of the contracts and read them word for word. So I was looking for some answers, clarifications, because I did not have the ability, the capacity to go through the contracts and read them word for word. So I'm looking for clarifications on some issues. I'm looking for clarification on some points where I felt that there was departure from certain standards that we should agree on, because that is that is what most of the people accept as standards of good Islamic financing. So we're looking for answers. They have been cooperative and helpful, the representatives of the companies. This is not in any way to put them on trial, and we should not really think of this way. And please don't, because I feel that you're under pressure when you're talking, brothers. Wallahi, this is not a trial. Just I am learning from you. I am sharing my input with you. Take it back, look at it, study it, give me answers, and then we will, inshallah, provide the Muslims with a better product.
I would have to apologize for all those who are standing because we actually took 15 minutes more, and we do apologize. We do have an open Q&A right after this session, and you, the three, will be okay. Will everybody remember their line? We apologize. Let's document this. Now we're going to start the second session. Allah barik lakum. Now we're going to have the second session. لا ربا فضيلة الدكتور معن and دكتور محمد آدم الشيخ and إخواننا الدكتور يحيى وأخونا مايك. تفضل سيدي. Just two announcements before we start. The certificates for this conference are ready. If you have pre-registered online, your certificate is there. If you have registered only on-site, even if for the first time, we'll have actually to send you that later in the mail. The certificates are in the registration room. They are not signed. If you want them to be signed by Fadil Dr. Salah Al-Sawi, feel free to approach him, and he's here, inshallah. The second announcement for those who are traveling tonight, please make sure to check out before 12. 12 is the last the time to be checked out of the rooms. If your trip is late, you can always keep your luggage in the front desk. They will store it for you with a tag. So, Jazakumullah khair, barakallah. And the real MC is taking over.
Just one thing, if it's okay.